Yo, what is up, guys? It's Pedro here. And once again, the Washington Commanders are in the national news. It seems like every offseason, no matter what quarterback, what owner, what name they have, always something is going on. And today, President Trump had a lot to say about the potential new name, or no, not he had a lot to say about the Commanders' name and moving back to the old name, the Washington Redskins. He talked about it a lot. We're going to get into all the statements he said today and, him threatening the Commanders into changing the name back to the Redskins if they want the deal, if they want the stadium deal. So there is a lot to talk about, and this is crazy. This is crazy. Not what I was expecting, but it's been, I guess, trending in this direction recently with some of the things that he said. So I will go ahead. We'll share. I'll share my screen here just so we can go over what he said originally, and then because he said one statement earlier today. And it did make the news, definitely made the news. But this statement that he made recently in the last 30 minutes, an hour, is not shocking, but is very, very, you know, telling, and he's getting to a point here. So, what's up? Robert Smith says, "Wait, what's happening?" Let's go ahead. Let me go ahead and share my screen so you guys can see. And just to get it out of the way, guys, I'm not gonna get into any politics here. I'm gonna give you guys the information. I'll give you guys my thoughts on the name stuff, but in terms of politics, we're staying out of it. It's not the place for it on my channel. But all right, so Donald Trump, I don't know the social media platform, whatever it is, Twitter's true. I don't know, but let's see. He said the Washington whatever should immediately change their name back to the Redskins, or he said Washington Redskins football team. I think he just means Washington Redskins. There's a big clamoring for this. Likewise, he talks about the Cleveland Indians, talks about the heritage and prestige is systematically being taken away from them. Times are different now than they were 3 or 4 years ago. We are a country of passion and common sense. Owners get it done. So that's one statement, right? And let's see. Appreciate all y'all for pulling up. And I agree with some of y'all. Like, I would love it to go back to Redskins, but I thought we moved on from it. Like, at this point, it's in the past. And again, like, I like the name. I was sad. I was sad when it left, but at this point, I don't know. It didn't make a lot of sense. It doesn't make a lot of sense to bring it back, but whatever. Here is the new statement. Let me just make sure this is the right one. Yep, posted at 4:07. So my statement on the Washington Redskins is totally blown up, but only in a very positive way. I might put a restriction on them that if they don't change the name back to the original Washington Redskins and get rid of the ridiculous moniker Washington Commanders, I won't make a deal for them to build a stadium in Washington. The team would be much more valuable and the deal would be more exciting for everyone. Cleveland should be the same with the Cleveland Indians. The owner of the Cleveland baseball team, Matt Dolan, is very political, has a lot, whatever. That's just politics. But he's basically going on a tangent about the Redskins and the Cleveland Indians. One of them, which he can control a lot more than the other because he is in DC. I don't know for sure how much he can control in DC. Um, Brendan, appreciate the $10 donation. Says I heard about this and it's wild. I want the name change, but like I was at Terry. I want Terry Payton to win more first. The name is important, sure, but it's a low priority right now. And I agree with that. It was I don't what was it 2020, so it's been 5 years. The Commanders have been a name for 3 years, over 3 years now. It is what it is. I think most people in this chat really like the Redskins name and were really sad when they moved on from it. But it's they changed it to Washington Football Team, then to the Commanders. The Commanders are winning, and the owners don't. They've said it. They don't really plan to change it back. So it's just too far gone at this point. If this was talked about earlier, then maybe. But like I said, it's too far gone right now for them to change it back. And I'm not a politics guy. I don't know how much power he truly has in terms of being able to change, or not change a name, but in terms of being able to block the team to RFK. Because I know, Mayor Bowser is part of it. She's definitely part of it because she's the mayor of DC. I don't know if you guys in the chat can educate me how much power he has in terms of blocking a stadium in DC. But yeah, it is what it is. And Brendan, appreciate the donation. I agree with that. I like the name and everything, but at this point, you know, just focus on football. This team is good, man. This team is really good. They went to the NFC Championship last year in the first year of a new regime with Dan Quinn, Adam Peters, Jaden Daniels, and have had a decent off season. Whatever. Hopefully, they can get a Terry deal done. But if they're winning, and this, President Trump had a statement a couple or like maybe a month ago about this, and he said, if they're winning, it's not going to matter too much, and I agree with that. So they're winning right now, and I don't think it matters too much. Yes, I know a lot of people are upset about it and they want the name back, but I just at this point I don't think it's coming back. And yeah, but he is trying to threaten it, and he's trying to use his power to get the name back. So Manage 42 said it's federal land. He probably can make it harder to build. I mean, yeah, that's I guess that's what I was guessing, but didn't know for sure. And yeah, I know it's very divided. I mean, comment down below what you guys think. If you want the name back, if you don't, I would like, I would be fine if it came back. But again, at this point, like if you ask me straight up, what's better, Redskins or Commanders? I mean, it's clear the Redskins name is better for me, at least. But at this point, going through a whole another name change, it's just a whole headache, and no one's gonna be like you're never gonna have 100% happiness. And the Commanders, I think a lot of the Skins fans will be happy about it, but then you'll have national outrage, whatever, these people throwing up pitchforks and trying to get the name changed back. It's just going to be too much drama for Josh Harris to deal with. And I think that if it comes to it, and Trump actually tries to block it, I think Josh Harris will go ahead and move on, and he'll go to Virginia or Maryland. And then that's not going to be a good look for the president if he's the reason that the team is not in DC. Yeah, he can push all he wants to go back to the Redskins name, and I think people will be happy about that. But if he's the reason that they don't end up getting a stadium in DC, then I think a lot of people are going to be upset about that. So hopefully this is just, him trying to get some pressure on, the organization to change the name back, but I don't think it's going to happen. I know people are probably excited about this, but I don't think it's going to be back. I don't think it's going to be back. I would be very, very surprised. Maybe yeah, I would be shocked. Robert Smith says, you people that are on here saying that the name Redskins should be back, that we need to move on. Clearly, you haven't been rolling with this team for decades. Clearly, you don't understand. I mean, dude, I get it. There's people that, there's people on both sides of it. I think, Washington fans, there's a lot more that want the name to be brought back than don't. But again, it's 2025. I just think at this point, it's not going to happen as much as we want. I guess this the really the only avenue for it to be brought back is what the president is doing right now, and trying to put pressure on the team. I mean, the most powerful guy in America, he's trying to put pressure on the team, the president. And I mean, we'll see what ends up happening. But man, I just would be very, very surprised if he's able to put a lot of pressure. If he's able to make Josh Harris do it. I think Josh Harris is going to call his bluff, and that's my guess. He's going to call his bluff and say, you know what, that's fine. If you want to try to block the stadium, it is what it is. But we're going to go to Virginia. We're going to go to Maryland or stay in Maryland. That's my guess on the situation. But obviously, they want it in DC. That's the perfect place to have it. You know, their you know their heyday was in Washington, was at RFK. They won 3 Super Bowls there, and I think that's everyone is on is agreeing on it that they should go back to DC. And that's where the owners want it. That's where a lot of the players, ex-players, fans. There's almost no one that doesn't want it in DC. So this, definitely complicates things a little bit. I mean, yeah, there's some people that want it in Virginia, but I, Virginia would be fine. I'd rather have it in Virginia than Maryland, but DC is the best option, in my opinion. DC is the best option for me. Again, you can agree to disagree. Comment down below what you think. Richard says, I'm a Redskins fan from the UK, been a fan since 1982. I will never, never, never buy any merch with the name Commanders on it. Will all be Redskins to me. I mean, dude, I get it, but I think, it is what it is. It's a team right now, and I'll buy merch from it. I mean, as long as they're good. When they're bad, I'm not buying merch. Mark says they'll lose a lot of sponsorship and therefore a lot of money if they switch it back. And I do, that's definitely something that is on their mind. I mean, that's part of the reason. That's part of the reason they changed it originally, is because a lot of these companies were pulling out and threatening them in terms of sponsorship deals. If you don't change the name, we're not sticking with you. So that's partly why they changed it. That's probably the biggest reason they changed it. And if that happens, I could see a lot of companies, moving back or threatening again. I don't know. I think a lot of the biggest compromise was changing the name or changing the uniforms back to what they were before, or similar to what they were before. And I think that maybe the biggest thing to be a compromise would be changing somewhat, something with the logo, spears, whatever. Mahad Abdi says, "Hey Pedro, big fan. I live in Somalia and I've been watching you for years, man. Not many Washington fans here, but I love your content, bro. Appreciate that, man. Means a ton. Happy that I have a lot of fans from a bunch of different countries. So that's really really cool. So majority of us Indians love the name. John Lewis says, before the name change happened, how many fans were upset with the name? Fans, I don't think there's a lot of fans upset with the name, but other people, there was. But again, yeah, it is what it is. So my guess, we're not going to keep this stream too long, just because there's not a lot to talk about here. Let me pull up the tweet. Yeah, there's not a lot to talk about. You look at it, and Trump wants the name to get changed, and I don't think it's going to happen. Let's see if there's been any more information here. Let's see. I have a lot of different notifications here, so let's see. So no more notification or no more news on that, but there's a lot. Like there's major news outlets putting this out, so it's going to be a little bit of a national story. It is what it is. That's what happens when you're a team in the nation's capital. There's always something with this team. There's always something, whether it's Dan Snyder, something new. With Dan Snyder, I mean, it was a lock. Every month there's going to be a new story. But with Josh Harris, you thought maybe it's a little bit over, but it's coming back a little bit. What's up, my guy Juan Gotti? Make sure you guys check him out. You already know what the deal is with Juan. We've been streaming together for I don't even know how long, but it's been 5+ years. Let's see. Let's talk about some other stuff now. We'll keep talking about this a little bit, but Terry McLaurin, updates on that salary cap situation. Von Miller made a video about the salary cap situation, how the Von Miller signing, Trey Amos, all that comes into play, and how it affects Terry McLaurin. So watch that. The Von Miller deal, $6 million up to $10.5 million in incentives. So it's not a huge deal, maybe a little bit bigger than some people thought, but again, not a huge deal, and something that they definitely can work with, and it's not going to affect cap too much. We've got 70 people in here. Everyone hit that like button. Every single one of you hit that like button. If you're not subscribed, go ahead and subscribe. It's free. It takes 1 second. There's no reason not to subscribe. But yeah, salary cap situation. Commanders are in good salary cap spot. They don't need to release anyone to make room. They're good. And Terry McLaurin, there's a bunch of reports out there, man. I think once it happens, but it's hard to really it's hard to say what's going to happen when there's so many different reports. You got reports saying they're nowhere near a deal. You got some like Lake Lewis who said they think a deal will be done on Monday or whatever. So it's really hard to say what's going to happen, but it is what it is. Let's see, we got a Super Bowl to get. If they change the name, move to another city, all going to still be fans. All right, this is one of the one thing I disagree with, and maybe I'll judge you a little bit. There's some Commander Skins, Washington football team, whatever you want to call, the team, right? There's some fans that rather the team go back to Dan Snyder as owner and get the Redskins name back than stay at the current situation with the Commanders and Josh Harris. For me, that's ridiculous. We got a great owner right now, and he is connected to the past, and he's trying to do as much as possible without crossing that corporate line where you're losing sponsorship money to connect with the past. And he's done that with alums and a bunch of different stuff, and recently with the jerseys, going back to the original jerseys, like the OG jerseys. That's a huge step. Maybe there's a little bit more he can do with logos and stuff, but he's done a lot. And I think to say you rather have Dan Snyder and the old name is ridiculous. I mean, first of all, he is the one who, yes, he had a lot of pressure, but he's the one who changed, was the owner when the name got changed. So that's all I'm going to say on that front. But yeah, Terry McLaurin, I don't know. At this point, it seems like they're very far off. Terry wants 30 plus million and the team is not there. I think the minimum is 30. And if you don't want to pay 30, that's your fault, because, the price has gone up. The price has gone up. And, the longer you wait, the higher the price is going to be. And, the more drama you're going to bring to the team. And if they would have, right after the season ended, they were like, Terry, you know what? We love you. We want you to be here the rest of your career. You are a Washington Commander through and through. Sign a 3-year, $90 million deal. I almost guarantee you that he would have accepted that deal. Almost guarantee it. What's up, Dean? Appreciate you pulling up. Hey, we got 95 people in here. Everyone hit that like button, subscribe if you guys knew. It's free, takes 1 second. But I guarantee you he would have signed that deal. And at this point, and I guess they weren't willing to do that, but I think even less. Maybe they could have, done a 3-year, $85 million deal. I think even that he would have accepted, because at that point he would have been probably a top 6, top 7 receiver in terms of pay at that point. Obviously now things have changed with Jamar Chase getting paid, Garrett Wilson getting paid, DK Metcalf getting paid, someone else definitely got paid, but a lot of guys that got paid, and that changes things, but that also brings the price up. So I really do think Adam Peters and company made a mistake by waiting too long. Maybe it's not on them. I don't have all the context. Maybe they, tried and Terry was just being, persistent and stubborn. But I just don't think that was the case. But seems like they're very far away on a deal. Looks like Terry probably wants around like 32-ish mil a year. And the Commanders are like offering 27 is 26 is like where they're at. It is what I'm getting from all the reports. And that they're very far. They're very far apart. And, I think they got to come together, and, Commanders got to sacrifice a little bit. Maybe Terry's got to sacrifice a little bit, get to a compromise, whatever it is, $30 million. And I think that's really good. 3 years, 90 million. Think that works out. Maybe more. Maybe 3 years, 95. It is what it is. What's up, Gemini? David says, if fans don't like the current name for Washington, stop watching Dip. Yeah, if it's that deep, then you know what? It is what it is. But, I don't think a name should be the reason you watch the team. I understand it's important, and I understand you can be upset about it. But, I mean, again, at the end of the day, you can still call the team, the team what you want. So It is what it is. I know how, what people are feeling because, when the name changed, I was upset too, but it's been 5 years. So I don't think they're changing it back. I really don't. But, I think we got some important things to talk about right now. Football season is right around the corner. Terry McLaurin is still not signed. And, training camp. Let's talk about training camp. Training camp is happening, you know, in the next couple days. We got on the 22nd is when people report to camp, and then the 23rd is when they actually have practice. So we're getting there. I will be there on the 29th. And we'll be there, and we'll be taking videos for you guys and uh, everything like that. So stay tuned for that. And I'm excited for that. Seeing Jaden Daniels, hopefully seeing Terry McLaurin and everyone there is going to be really, really fun. And I hope that you know I get to see some of y'all there. So 29th, that's not this Tuesday, but the next Tuesday. And yeah, like I said, 22nd is when the guys report. That'll be the big day for Terry. Tomorrow, the 21st, is going to be somewhat of a day because Dan Quinn and Adam Peters are talking to the media. We know every dang question is going to be about Terry McLaurin. Terry McLaurin, Terry McLaurin, Terry McLaurin. So yeah, that is going to be very interesting, and we'll see how they handle it. I'm sure Adam Peters, he's thinking about maybe just before the press conference, like, what, we understand, there's going to be a lot of questions about Terry. We want him here, blah blah blah, and that's all I got to say about it. The rest, yeah, there's nothing else I got to say about it. I could definitely see him, say that for sure. So, I'm looking at some other, not questions here, but any other tweets to see if there's any more updates on the news. But that is kind of it. So I'm gonna call it a day there on the stream. Hopefully, you guys enjoyed. Hit that like button, comment, and peace.